Checkmate Love Game is a work of dark fantastical fiction that contains mature themes and is therefore intended for mature audiences. But this is just the beginning of a series of epic events. In the kingdoms of light and shadow, there lay a battlefield between them, a chessboard of sorts, where the exiled were left to die. Pools of white and black were scattered about this forsaken no man's land. The black blood of the Lightens and the white blood of the Darkens painted the scene of this gruesome display. These two kingdoms were sworn enemies, who were only postponing an inevitable war, and past the barred fortified gates of the Lightendom stood the Crown Prince Lucius, who was just exiled by his own family. The king, specifically, was the one responsible for the exile, as the queen and crown princess were helpless as they said goodbye to poor Lucius with teary eyes. He had been caught romancing a handsome knight, and King Luminance was furious enough to cast out his only son out of rage, and the knight, formerly known as Sir Ethereus, was beheaded. Talk of the son's exile spread throughout the kingdom like wildfire, but King Luminance was far too proud and cared far too much about his image to let the truth get out to the public. So Sir Ethereus was declared a treacherous spy for the Darkendom, and the son's exile was considered to be a tragedy. A poor fool of a prince who allowed himself to be tricked by the enemy. Some citizens of the Lightendom pitied Lucius, while others were happy to see the incompetent prince gone at last, and Sir Ethereus died in infamy. An innocent scapegoat for bigotry, who didn't even receive a proper burial.
Ethereus Atwellus, formerly Sir Ethereus Atwellus, you are hereby stripped of your knighthood and sentenced to death by beheading for the crimes of espionage for the Darkendom and for the manipulation of your friend, now exiled Prince Lucius Lytanius. Do you have any last words before your execution?
Ethereus looked directly at the king, his eyes burning with sadness and with hatred, before saying these words. I am no traitor. I am no spy. I didn't trick Lucius. I love him. But if I am to be a scapegoat because of so-called unorthodox love, then fucking kill me where I stand. To hell with the king! Confusion and anger filled the air as the observing citizens discussed the speech amongst themselves, and King Luminance gestured to the Undertaker to silence Sir Ethereus as he spat at the king. Fuck you, Luminance. You are no king, and I hope you die in this war. And with that, the axe came down as if the slice were his final words ending punctuation, and during his final seconds on earth, the people cheered at the sight of his corpse, and soon after, Sir Ethereus was no more, and Prince Lucius was not even permitted to say goodbye. Those who chose not to attend the execution instead watched him escorted shamefully through the streets by the king's royal guard. The citizens either mocked him openly and cheered as he passed them, or silently wept as they watched the exile of their dear, sweet prince. After observing the execution, the king soon made his way through the kingdom, flanked by 3 of his royal guard, to a mix of fanfare and solemn silence, before finally reaching the Lightendom gates, where his son stood in silent rage. Well, son, do you have anything to say for yourself before you are casted out of your former home?
Yes, father.
He stared daggers at the king, with more hatred than he had ever felt before.
You are a bigot and a liar.
The shocked crowd fell silent.
Ethereus was innocent. I am innocent. You are no king, and you are no father.
I loved Aetherius as he loved me.
And just as he did, I too wish you death and damn you to hell! Fuck you! Fuck you!
The surrounding citizens gasped. Some fainted, some became enraged, and others stayed silent while processing the day's events. King Luminance was flabbergasted and had no words in return. He just stood up straight, adjusted his crown, and with a shooing motion of his hand, he called for the guards to throw Lucius out of the main gates. A forceful push, and a heavy slam of the wooden doors that protected his former kingdom thunderously marked his transition into exile. As he stood outside of the Lightendom gates, staring into the bloody battlefield in haunting silence, now condemned to survive all on his own.